Hello, everybody. How you doing? Yeah, I tell you, the South African weather is very chilly, and I just hope everyone is warm and snuggled up. But this evening, I'm very, very proud and happy to introduce. I think she's just. Oh, there she is there. Joanne Aviv, who is in Israel, and she is a pharmacist, a qualified pharmacist, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about what we've been hearing in Israel, what's the story, what's been happening. So, yeah, welcome, Joanne.
Hi, nice to be with you, Ruth. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is really a great opportunity to chat to someone that I think is kind of on the same wavelength.
Cool beans. Excellent. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. You qualified at?
In Wits, I went to Wits.
Okay. Yeah.
And qualified as a pharmacist at Wits.
Mm-hmm.
Worked in South Africa as a pharmacist until I moved to Israel in 2000 with my young family of 4 kids and husband. And I immediately got around to doing the exam, which was a really difficult exam to convert my license. And then I started working here as a pharmacist. I worked in 2 or 3 pharmacies until I got a job literally 5 minutes from my home. I live in Khaniel in the center of Israel, just west of Netanya, if anyone knows Netanya. It used to be, this area is a very popular area. It's called Emek Hefer, and it consists of a few towns which are now already cities. Kfar Yona is the city that I work in, and I live in Khaniel, the Moshav, 5 minutes away. So I was really fortunate to get this job in this pharmacy. Okay. And I've been there since, I think, 2007, so many years.
Okay. We have Moshav. Sorry. No, Moshav is what, like a kibbutz? Like
Moshav is, it's a little agricultural village. More or less, you would say the size of Groenkloof in Pretoria. It's like a really little village. We have a little shop. We have the post office. We have a little community center. And we have our homes. And some people have got agriculture as part of their properties. We don't. We just have our home with our little garden. But the homes are between fields of, if I walk outside, I have a field of naartjies and lettuce and, you know, it's
okay,
like
so it's almost like a farm, like a plaas dorp.
It's a plaas dorp, and that's what I wanted for my kids, because that's where I grew up, in Marble Hall on the plaas. So right. I literally managed somehow to give the same to my kids, and and so they had a great childhood here, and it's really great living here. I enjoy it. Working in the pharmacy, I can tell you, in pharmacy, it's also very interesting in Israel, because most pharmacists in Israel, like in South Africa, the way I remember it, most gynecologists were Greek. Most pharmacists in Israel, is it still like that? All the gynaes were Greek? Not anymore?
Probably, yeah. A lot of them have left, but I think, yes, for the majority of it, yes. Like all the psychologists are Afrikaans. Yes, it's like that.
I love my doctor there, and when I came here, all pharmacists, literally the majority of community pharmacists, retail pharmacists actually, are Arabs, Israeli Arabs. Okay. Yeah, my bosses are Arabs. My colleagues are all Arabs. I'm the only Jewish pharmacist in our pharmacy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So what's very nice is that I've always been part of Israel from all sides, and not even many of the Israelis have experienced what I have, the relationships that I have with my co-workers, my colleagues, and it actually works really well, because when we have our Jewish holidays, they work, and I don't have to work on that day that, you know, we close at 1:00 and the whole country thinks the world has come to an end, and everyone goes to buy their stocks because we're closing for a few days. And so I'm at home cooking. Yes. And then when they have their holidays, the Eid al-Fitr and the Eid al-Adha and, you know, all their holidays, I'm there standing in for them. Okay. So it works really well, and we have an amazing relationship. They are literally my closest people, because those are the people I'm with every single day.
Yeah, that's how it is. You hope you have good relationships when you're in a work environment.
And I've been in the same place now since 2007, and they all like my family. And the relationship between the customers, who are mostly Jewish Israelis because of our area, and our workers and our staff is incredible. We really are really popular, and we're a very nice community pharmacy, and we offer an amazing service. Only recently 2 other pharmacies have opened up in our area. Literally a month ago, Super Farm, which is one of the chain stores, opened up. And we're not concerned at all. They'll have enough to keep them going, because we literally an area of, what I looked it up the other day, about almost 43,000 people, which is crazy. It's quite a lot of people.
Yeah, no, sure. It is, definitely.
And we manage it very well. And so let me just give you briefly how it works here.
Sure.
Every Israeli, all Israelis, belong to one of 4 medical systems, you could call it. I don't actually know.
Providers.
Medical providers. So when you've decided which one you want to belong to, that one will provide you with all your doctors, and you can choose from a group, you can select from a group of GPs or whatever, whatever doctor you need, you choose from their doctors. Okay. They usually give you a nice selection of doctors. All the doctors are online with each other, so all your medical information is online. If you go to your GP today and your ENT tomorrow, they all see each other's information. They can pull it up, and it works really, really well. And no money is handled at all. You swipe your card, it gets taken off on a monthly, and you go into the pharmacy, swipe the card, your script shows up in any pharmacy that you go into, and we dispense it, and it works really, really well. It's a good system. It doesn't cost much. Medicine, patients pay 10% of the price of medicine. So we just work
out a levy. Yeah,
you pay a levy. Like, what would Augmentin cost in South Africa? I'm not sure. Augmentin's like your basic antibiotic, or any antibiotic. Everything here would cost 18 shekels. And to the rare, times it by 5, that's what you would pay for a course of antibiotic.
Okay.
Which is
all right. So it's about the same. It's probably maybe a little bit more, but I'm sure it's not as more as, like, you can ask for generic, like that's obviously, But so what have you experienced now? This great provider, this great network, everyone has medical aid, everyone is supported.
Okay, so how this whole thing, let's go back to the beginning of 2020, and a few cases start appearing in China, and we start seeing these videos, scary videos of people foaming at the mouth and falling flat, and of course the fear. And at some stage, Israel blocked flights from China. I think it was quite early, and quite early, then the first cases started appearing. And quite early, we started with masks. The pharmacy, we put up glass partitions, indoor masks, outdoor masks, lockdowns began, and we did what everyone else was doing. We locked down completely, and everyone was very positive in the beginning. Remember, it was going to be those 2 weeks. And we locked down, and we saw that first wave, went up, it went down, and we thought, wow, that's it. This was going to end the whole thing, and it didn't. And then another wave and another lockdown and more restrictions, and people started dying as well. And we were just waiting for a vaccine, that we were promised that this vaccine was going to come and save us all. So, I mean, I was there waiting for this, please, just let's do it. And I was actually so excited about that. What was it called? Operation, God, I can't even remember, but that speeded up things. It kind of did the different stages of the trial at the same time, simultaneously, and got the whole thing going quite fast.
Yeah.
So things were looking scary, but we were positive when it came to the vaccine that was coming. What did draw my attention was that, when you're in the medical field, you're always looking for a solution. So until the vaccine comes out, let's treat this damn thing, So whatever was out there was information coming in of let's try this, let's try that. And I think one of the first things was the hydroxychloroquine that people were suggesting this. And it sounded very exciting. There was a doctor, I think in New York, Dr. Zelenko, I think it was. One of my patients came into the pharmacy with an email. An old man came into the pharmacy with an email directly from him with a prescription on email because none of the doctors in Israel would give it. But obviously this was an email, so I couldn't dispense it from an email, but he was giving him the protocol, and this old man was begging me to please give it to him. And I had to let's try and find a doctor who would be prepared to do this. There wasn't any. The doctors didn't want to know anything, except for one doctor. There was one, I won't mention names, but there was one doctor who was actually absolutely in my head. Yes, looking for anything, because that's, what makes sense. You look for a solution, a burma plan, we were trying to look for a solution. And I was just excited because, first of all, it was a safe drug. It's a drug that's being used already for other things.
In Africa.
Even in
malaria.
It's used for malaria, but it's also used for autoimmune diseases. So it's being used, and it's used successfully. And we have it in the pharmacy. We get scripts for it. People use it for years and years. So my question was, even if we didn't have that much information yet, because you couldn't, how could you go and do a long trial at this point? We were looking for instant solutions. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
If something is not dangerous, why not give it a try? And then there was this huge backlash. And that's the thing that just what's going on here? This doesn't make sense. If I told you that paracetamol that you take for a headache might possibly help if you took one a week,
sure.
Why not try and take one a week? Get everybody to take one a week and let's see what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? It won't work. That's it. And this was literally the same thing. But no, there was a huge backlash, and a lot of it came because Trump was behind it. So that was an automatic no. You can't use it because Trump and, the whole story with that. So that put that out the window. Then the ivermectin picture started coming up. And there was another option. Let's just look at it. Let's see. Maybe this could do something. And there was lots of evidence that it was working, but you didn't have large double-blind controlled studies. You didn't have them. They're very expensive. Nobody was prepared to do them. So we didn't have that. We had small studies, which were all very positive. And there's hundreds of these studies, not just one or two, hundreds of them. Anyway, this part started to be very weird to me, and I was getting annoyed that Israel was not pushing it. And there was an Israeli research on it as well. There's a researcher also did one, and he tried to get Israel to, he put an article out that for $1 a person, we could actually
cure it.
Yeah.
Sort it out.
Give early treatment. I couldn't understand this weird thing that you send people home with vitamin C and vitamin D and whatever and zinc and told them to drink tea, hang in there, hope for the best. If you turn blue, come back to us. This has never been done before. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. And this is where I started to get a little bit suspicious and start to say, hold on.
Did you already have the boo-boo? And my term for...
No, we didn't.
Okay. This was early days.
Because we didn't have any other option. We didn't have the boo-boo, your term. We didn't have it yet. It wasn't available. But I mean, until it's available, and I was so hopeful about this, but we can't wait. We need to start treating these people getting sick and people were dying. So that's where I already started getting a little bit suspicious of what was going on here. I couldn't understand why. And the only explanation I had for this was literally, first of all, because the boo-boo was going to be produced. And it was quite clear that you couldn't have something out there spending a lot of money on producing something. You can't have an instant solution suddenly to get rid of this if they're going to be spending all that money. Something here wasn't making sense. Okay. And then the end of the year came, and emergency use authorization was given. And we were so excited. And I'm telling you, in Israel, we were thrilled. And here we were actually volunteering ourselves as the guinea pigs for the world quite happily, because we have a really very efficient system of data management because of these 4 medical systems, and they're all online. Absolutely everything about you medically, unless you choose to go to a private doctor, everything else about you is online. And your boo-boo would definitely be online as well. That's not something that can be hidden, because the minute you got it, it was there. In 1 second, you got your download onto your phone and it was there, evidence and all the rest. So when it came out in that December, we lined up, we were there, and in 2 minutes we had it. We sat down, we waited our 15 minutes. Everything was fine. Some people had allergic reactions, but that wasn't the main problem at all. The first allergic reaction. Are you there, Ruth? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, okay. I was muted. No, why worry? Like, it's just an allergic reaction. Why worry?
Yeah, but even an allergic reaction, that can happen with any medicine. So that part wouldn't disturb me. That would never have put me off, because it can happen. An allergic reaction can happen to a person with any medication. So that's normal. 15 minutes later, if something happened, that's an anaphylactic kind of thing, or it's an allergic reaction. That is not really the side effects that you would be worried about. So that point was still quite early. We didn't see anything major. And you had to come back 2 weeks later, and you got your second one. And then I think it's a week after that, you were known as fully boo-booed. And that was fine. And that was supposed to be it. I clearly remember that moment, coming back in my car thinking, oh my goodness, how fantastic this is. It's a year later and it's all behind us. That was the beginning of 2021. So a whole lot of us had it. We did it. And it happened to be that when we started it in Israel, we were kind of reaching a peak of one of the waves. And so the wave started coming down. So it looked very much like this is the reason the wave came down. I think it was the third wave that had come down. So it came down nicely, and it looked like this was the reason it came down, although the other waves had come down as well without it. Okay. Yeah. And then a few months later, we started to have this increase again. I think it was around about June-ish. And that was
21.
Yeah. Yep. Then Delta arrived, which was a different variant. And the logic actually, if we're talking about, if the change was on the spike and this whole technology was around there, it's a puzzle piece. It's literally one piece that should fit perfectly into another piece. That's how boo-boos work, okay? Right. Your antibodies, that's how it works. It didn't recognize it, obviously, because it made no difference. We had a new wave. Here came Delta, and it was pretty lethal. It went up and it went down again because we locked down again. Everything was locked down again. And they pushed that boo-boo boy. Everybody had to go. And then they suggested the reason why this was happening was because it wasn't enough. We needed our booster. And so we were all shuffled off to get boosters. And I mean, the booster, at this stage, when I saw that it was not really doing what it was meant to do, I was very hesitant about getting the booster. And on top of that, by this stage, I had started seeing patients coming into the pharmacy with very peculiar things, rashes I'd never seen before, like kind of bubbles of liquid, huge blistery bubbles, weird rashes that I'd never seen before. And also people talking about their hearts, feeling their hearts beating in their chest and scary things. And they were told it's anxiety by the doctors. The doctors were telling them it's anxiety and telling them to be treated for anxiety. Weird stuff. Then at more or less this point, they discovered that myocarditis in the youngsters, and they saw it in Israel as well. And they mentioned that it was mainly in young boys, young men, although heart attacks were increasing, and they just were not putting it down to this because the heart attacks were in an age that someone dies of a heart attack at 40. It's kind of very unusual, but it's not unheard of. Right. An 18-year-old dying of a heart attack is something that, or having a heart condition is something that jumps up at you. And I started getting a bit nervous here because I was seeing more and more of these weird side effects, people coming in with weird things that just didn't make sense to me. And I started putting 2 and 2 together. So by the time they told us to go for number 3, I went there, but my family literally pushed me to go there, where I was pushing them before they were telling me to go. And at this stage, I said to my son, please don't get it, because I've only got one son and he was in the age group. And I said, don't get the booster. Please don't get it. Just don't get it. But then we had the green passport at that stage, and you had to get it to go into university. And so he went and got it and told me he'd done it. And I was really nervous. And he was fine, but one of his best friends got myocarditis. And this friend's mother, who's my friend.
So, quick question, what exactly is myocarditis?
It's an inflammation of the muscle in the heart. And they're not denying it, but they're telling you it's not something serious. You know, that person usually recovers, but they're not telling you that this is damage to the heart.
Yeah.
We don't know the long-term effects of this damage to the heart. These young kids and older people that have got it have now got damage in their hearts. Their hearts have been damaged. It's the muscle that's been hurt. Okay, and you only got one heart. You know, you can't go around.
Yeah.
You know, you need that heart to get you through an entire lifetime, and these are youngsters. So this is where I started to get really concerned. But I went and got the damn third one, and I must admit, since then, I'm really, literally nervous, scared that I've got something in me that I wish I could go back and undo it, because I don't know what effect this is going to have. And then, of course, my sister, I was encouraging everyone in South Africa, please just go and get it, go and get it, go and get it. And then they all got it, and then all the stuff came, and then I wanted to reverse, and it was too late. And then my sister Davina woke up one day, and her foot was numb. It just literally went numb. Her left leg. She didn't tell us in the beginning. She told us a few weeks afterwards. I didn't know about this. And next thing, she was wheelchair bound.
I saw her. I remember seeing her at the wedding, and I was like, what's going on? Like, you have a dancing studio. Your whole life is dance. Right. What happens? Did you get in an accident? Were you in an accident? What's the story? And
I didn't even know this was happening. I saw it on an Instagram post. I saw she went to Cape Town for the holidays, and there I saw her husband pushing a wheelchair from behind. The kids were taking this video, and I was wondering, who's he pushing? And then I saw it's her. I almost had a heart attack. And then she started telling me what had happened. And I said to her, this just does not make sense. We need to find out what the hell. And she went from doctor to doctor. And eventually there was a doctor that said to her, this is a vaccine injury, a boo-boo injury.
A vaccine, okay. Yeah.
It was okay. And thank God there was treatment offered to her. And it took a few weeks. And her medical aid had to okay it and all the rest. And she went in, had the treatment. And by some miracle, this really was a miracle, and it worked. But there were a good few, I think it was about 2 or 3 months that she was.
Yeah. She couldn't walk?
She couldn't walk. Drop foot, a leg that just didn't listen. And other symptoms that were starting to show signs. So this particular condition, a few months, I think it was about January or December sometime, Pfizer had to start releasing data. Remember, at the beginning, they wanted to keep their data hidden for 60 years or something, because they said there was just too much to be able to get it out on time. So they were going to let out a few pages over a period of 70-something years or 50-something. Whatever it was an amount of time that nobody would be alive that was responsible.
Yeah.
And that really was another red light. I mean, what the hell? And thank God for some judge in America who overthrew this. They had to release data, and they released the first batch of data. And in that batch, there was an addendum of, I think, 8 or 9 pages of side effects. I mean, 9 pages that looked like this. And on page 3 it is, there is my 9 pages, and there on page 3 is my sister's condition, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyradiculoneuropathy. That's what she had.
A mouthful.
It's a mouthful. It's a horrible condition. I Googled it and found that there were lots of people that had it, that had got it.
Say the name again. Say the name again slowly for the viewers. So okay. I see Smee again's got a question. Buzzy Moments has a question. Okay, and obviously, I know that there has been some verbose exaggeration with regards. I mean, obviously, the right and the left have been at war on this, on Twitter, on these platforms. One says you're talking nonsense. One says you aren't. But let's just go to.
Let me just see, how do I switch the sound off here, Ruth?
Yeah, to read the comments.
I'm just trying to see how I get rid of the sound here. Okay.
Not a problem.
Okay.
So Smee again has a question. Every single day, I translate authentic documentation of boo-booed people who have severe boo-boo side effects.
Yeah.
I'm talking of things like women in their 50s starting to bleed again.
Yes, that we had a lot of that. The gynecological side effects were popping up in the pharmacy. Periods that were lasting much longer. Crazy stuff.
Has it affected fertility in the age gap of 20 to 30-year-olds?
The fertility, they haven't given out data at this point of the fertility. It's still a bit early to be able to know if people are struggling to fall pregnant, but we do know that the miscarriages, there have been lots of miscarriages. I don't know in Israel because they're not letting out data, but in the world, miscarriages have increased. I think it was in Scotland, something ridiculous was happening in one hospital. Miscarriages and also cot deaths and deaths of babies that are breastfed.
Oh my God,
weird things were happening.
I get shivers. I really
weird things were happening, and every time you just mentioned it, you were censored. You would screamed and shouted at. I mean, why would you want to protect? Why not discuss it? Why were they so adamant to keep this down? And why are so many people protecting these companies? I don't understand. I just don't get why you would be out there protecting it. And the basic thing, which makes no sense at all, is when they tell you that you have to have it to protect someone else. Now, if I could just explain that, like they're explaining it to a 3-year-old, there's no way, no logic in it whatsoever. How is me getting boo-booed going to save you from getting infected when it's not even saving me from being infected? I mean, we've all got
vice versa, or me not getting boo-booed.
If you're not getting it, how does it affect me? Why should you protect me by getting boo-booed? It doesn't make any sense, no logic behind it, but they will repeat the same argument, and I mean, it's laughable. It's laughable. I cannot.
This could be laughable, but wait, where's Buzzy's question here? So there's been a lot of, like, obviously controversial things, like, oh, there's snake venom in these things. Now, can you... Okay, wait, not that one.
So there isn't snake venom in it. I didn't even spend too much time on that because I saw that there was that thing that came out. But what I understood from the very little bit that I looked at it was, I think one of the effects that it has would be similar to if you had been bitten by a certain snake. But remember, snake venom, there's lots of different kinds of snake venom. Some snakes are cytotoxic, some are neurotoxic. Yeah. There isn't snake venom in it. Okay. Yeah. But the whole thing, there's a lot more to it than just what meets the eye. There's really a lot more to it. I mean, I don't even know where to begin here, but we've been lied to. And it all begins with, why would your country even lie to you? Why? Surely they know this doesn't make sense. They know that it's not working. You can see it's not working. You can see on the numbers. You can see.
You're going to show us a chart now. Yes, I think you showed us the last Omicron thing. Go down to share screen.
Yeah, I'll show you the difference between what happened here and what happened in South Africa when we were basically 80% boo-booed and you were about 30% boo-booed. And I'll try and see. Should I try and see?
Yeah, I don't know if I need to press my screen as well. Okay, so wait.
So do I push a window here?
No, you do it on your side. Okay. I just want to see here. There's a comment. So Buzzy Moments wants to ask, being a diabetic, how could the boo-boo affect or cause?
I don't think
have they done any research on that? They must have.
No, I haven't seen anything connected. But all our diabetics have been boo-booed. That's not been a contraindication at all.
Okay.
It's not been one of the ones that was.
But mostly young people.
Mostly. What do you mean? That what?
That have had like
side effects
issues or across the board, like
everybody across the board. I've seen across the board. I'm just trying to see how I do this. No, let me see. Window. How do I open one of these?
Is it working?
I just want to see if I open up my screen, you would see it. Let me see. Do you see my screen?
1 second.
Maybe you have to open up your screen there.
Yeah, something happened. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Let's see. It worked the other night when we did a bit of a rehearsal.
I would figure it out.
I don't know. People seeing the screen?
Is anyone
I don't know why it's not working. Yeah, she is. I don't know. Let's see if it loads. So, Smee again says again, I can't say too much due to non-disclosure agreements with my clients, but 90% of the documents I translate is from China. Is it working?
Sure. You seeing it?
Why it's not working? No. Why? Settings. It worked the other evening fine.
Yeah. Babe? What did we do? Share? Oh, maybe I must put share here. Can you see?
Ah, there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go.
Yeah. Are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm seeing.
Okay. So this is South Africa. Okay. Just want to show you South Africa. Okay. So let's have a look.
Slowly, because when you see it online, it's if you do it too fast, it's yeah. Okay. So what are the so it's obviously a line chart. So what are the figures at the bottom?
Yeah? Okay. You see this chart? Okay. Is it small? So this is the daily deaths in South Africa since the beginning. Okay. So you can see the waves. Those were the two waves. Well, South Africa, basically, you can see the first wave started late-ish in May, came down round about October-ish, went up again, hit a peak round about February. At this point, we were already vaccinating. And so you were not really vaccinating at that point, okay? And then you hit Delta over here. Are you seeing my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, so this was Delta. And then Delta came down. I think at this point you were vaccinating. You were moving around about June, August, okay? Then over here, Omicron arrived. Look at this little thing. I mean, this was a sneeze for South Africa. Can you see how? Literally. And we were told that it's an upper respiratory variant, a variant that affects the upper respiratory tract. It shouldn't have been dangerous. And most people really literally had a cold. The flu virus was usually worse than this. Okay? Yeah. This is what happened in South Africa. And you were 30% boo-booed at this stage. I want to show you Israel over the same period. I'm sorry, I'm going fast, but I'm just going down to the deaths. Here's the deaths in Israel. Here's where we started. We started down here. The first death started happening in April, smallish wave of deaths. Then we had that second wave, and there were more deaths, up to like 45 a day. That was quite a lot for our little country. And then we had the third wave, and the third wave was more or less when we started getting vaccinated. Okay? And it started to come down. So it looked like that was the reason it was coming down.
It was working.
It looked like it was working. And then here came July, August. Things were going bad again. They locked us down again. And it went up again. And you had Delta, which was the more virulent one. Remember, it was a dangerous one.
Yeah.
By then, we started getting boosted. And here is Omicron, which we're still dealing with right now. Look at this Omicron. These are deaths. This was an 80% vaccinated population.
Nation.
Yeah.
And how many people in that country, give or take?
I think we're 9 million. This didn't make any sense at all. If this boo-boo was working, how was it that Omicron was causing so much damage? It made no sense. Okay.
Okay.
Then we have, let me just show you while we are about it. Okay, so let's just look at the total until now. You see the total there?
Mm-hmm.
10,852 deaths in Israel until now. That's
Mm-hmm.
our total deaths, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is your worldometer. You can go and check every country in the world and it'll tell you exactly every day what's going on. So it gets its information, its source from our Ministry of Health, okay? And now, if you look at this last week, we're on the 31st of May now. Yesterday, 13 people died in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back, on the 26th, 6 people died. And on the 23rd, 6 people died. Now, it could be that this was between 2 days and they recorded it over 1 day. But these are the totals that keep on adding up to get to that final amount.
Right.
That's there. And this
this
tally keeps going up according to the daily deaths. And it's exactly the same total that you'll find at our Ministry of Health website. And I'll show the website to you now. So in this last week, it was 6, 6, and 13. So we had 25 people dying in the last 7 days. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have this really beautiful website. And I'll just quickly get it going. We have to give it a reset every 2 minutes. And it's really a good website. And this is the one that the world is using. This is the one that, or I don't know if, I think they're getting more information, but this is what you can see, and Israelis see this. This is what we see to give us a daily picture of what's going on. And I'll just translate basically. There's your total deaths. See?
Right.
Same number, right? This is the number of deaths in the last week. 6. We just saw that it was 25. How is it suddenly 6? Now, I noticed this months ago, and I thought maybe it was just a mistake, a once-off mistake. So I started to follow it. And I screenshot each time on my phone the totals, because from week to week, you can't go back and see what that total was a week ago. So I screenshotted so I would know a week later if it made sense. And our one does not make sense. The one that the worldometer has adds up. The numbers time, they add up and they get to the total at the end. Here, we told 6 people died in the last week, and you just saw that it's actually 25. So that's very weird. And they even tell you a 50% decrease. Fabulous. Then we go down and you get a graph here that tells you, because now they're trying to convince us that you need to they're still telling us, go and get your
boo-boo. Booster boo-boo.
Right. Now this
what
graph,
number are you on now?
Now we are, can you see this graph?
Mm.
Okay. This graph gives you the daily deaths and the vaccination status. Okay. Now I'm going to give it to you, the total deaths, the actual number in the whole population.
Okay.
Okay. Now it's No, it's giving me a hard time. Sometimes I feel like people know exactly what I'm busy doing. There we go. Wonderful. There's your numbers. Now, let me just tell you what we got here. The blue that you see there, the blue line, that's unboo-booed.
Okay.
There's your dates in the last week. Okay. No, sorry, not in the last week, in the last month. But we can look at each date. You can see every single day of the last month. This is a month, tracks a month. Okay. And the dark green is your fully boo-booed.
Okay.
The light green are people that have had 1 or 2 or not boosted or not fully.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not fully. And the funny thing is that those ones seem to do the best on all the graphs, and I can't understand why. It's really weird. To me, it looks like the booster did damage. It really.
So that's what. So I've been able to. I always said if I'm able to red pill, you've heard the term red pill, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
To change one person's mind.
Yeah.
I've done my job.
Well, have a look at that. Yeah, just have a look at this. So now they're telling us that in the last week, only a few people died. Where are the other 19 people? Why are we not seeing them and what their vaccination status is? Because every single one of them, it's the easiest thing in Israel.
17. What's
17? Well,
20, what did we say? 20. Oh, right. Yes, 19. 25 minus. Sorry, I thought we were talking another figure.
Died, but they're telling us 6 died.
Yeah.
So 19 people missing in this graph in this last week from more or less here to here. This graph should be up here. And we want to know what colors they were. Were they dark green? Were they blue? Why don't they show us? And this has consistently been happening from the beginning. I picked this up months ago, and I've been following it from the beginning. And every week they undercount on this graph. So it keeps on looking like, well, now they can't even hide it, because look what's going on here. The dark green are the ones that are dying. But I'll tell you why they do that. Because they want your per 100,000 to look good. So per 100,000, the picture looks different, but not much. Look there, there's like hardly anything. This is under the age of 60, and then I'll give you the over the age of 60, which is our population that's struggling. Let's go over. There we go. So you see what happens? When you put per 100,000 people and you're leaving out, because you're talking about small amounts here, you're leaving out 3/4 of them, then it suddenly looks like the unvaccinated are the ones that are very sick, and the partly vaccinated. And then you've got your fully vaccinated are down here. But these are not the real numbers. Now, I could be wrong. It could be that the ones they're not showing us are all unvaccinated or semi-vaccinated, but I'm ready to put my head on a block that is not the case, because literally almost every person in this country is vaccinated. Israelis are very compliant. They really are. We stood in a queue very quickly when they told us to. We locked down when we had to lock down. We follow the instructions. We wore masks until very recently. And people are very compliant. On top of it, you get fines here. And they're not funny, these fines. I mean, people come into the pharmacy, inspectors come in regularly, walk into the pharmacy and hand out fines. If you just put your mask down over under your nose, you would get a fine of 500 shekels. That's 2,500 rand. Even our own pharmacists have been given that fine. And we've got a partition between us. We have a glass partition. So it's crazy that this is what was happening. So people
tell us about the old man story you told me the other night.
Are you sure you want to hear it? Okay, well, I'll tell you. It was really quite a funny story.
Unshare the screen now. Are we done with the figures? Or I'm sure you've got.
That's really what I want to show you, is that they're not being honest with us. Okay, so I was really so tired of this nonsense of these inspectors walking in and fining my staff, our customers. If you just drop that mask under your nose, they were coming in, sneaking in and catching people out wherever you went. And one day I had an old man who came in, and he was with me. There's a glass partition between us. There's like a wooden cubicle between the three counters. So it's there for privacy. And so literally he could not affect anyone else. And he dropped his mask slightly to talk to me. And, you have to almost put your ear to the glass to hear what they're saying.
Right.
And this inspector popped up around the corner and said, okay, take out your ID. You're getting a fine. Why did you take your mask off? And that was just like the last straw.
You lost it.
I lost it. I just literally lost it at that point. And I told the policeman very nicely, he's not giving him the fine, he's giving it to me. And he said, no, you're not getting the fine. I said, oh, yes, I am. You better give me a fine right now. I want the fine. He thought I was mad. I don't know what happened to me, but I really did lose it. The poor old man kind of stepped aside, and it was me and the policeman trying to calm me down. And I said, no, you're not leaving here without giving me a fine. I want the fine. I can afford the fine. He can't. I want that fine now, and you're going to give it to me. And eventually, my boss came down. His colleague came. I had these two policemen trying to shut me up because I was screaming by that stage. And the pharmacy thought
you'd had enough. You'd had enough of the constant dogma, the constant
insanity. What the hell? No common sense here. No thinking that maybe if he's standing behind this glass, taking his little mask off slightly, this is an old man, who is he going to affect? And you're telling us to get vaccinated. Every single person is vaccinated. Then what is going on here? We should all be safe. So you can't even drop his mask slightly. Everybody was getting fines. My one daughter got a fine for being on the beach without a mask on. I mean, it was crazy. So people generally do follow the rules because they do. They just do. There were a few
Yeah, we're
conversations
still
that
seeing it
year.
here. We're still seeing a lot of people wearing outdoor masks. Today, I really rebelled today. I walked through an indoor place and I just decided, oops, I don't have my mask. Sorry.
The damage that
And I
this has
just,
caused. I mean, we've now only recently taken our masks off. I just think about the children that were born in this period, the children that were that little ones that had to face faces without expressions.
yeah,
And when childhood, and especially those early years, are so short and so important. One of my colleagues gave birth during this period, right in the beginning in January, and she went straight into lockdown with her little one. And this little one saw no faces except for the parents, the mother and father, even the grandparents, all the rest
I
of
remember
it.
seeing it as well. This
Never
tiny baby with,
The baby's still traumatized till today. She still struggles. She's got all sorts of issues. When she was first shown other faces, she was terrified. So I don't know what long-term damage this is going to cause, but I imagine
they're going to
it
be
will have
talking about it for years. And
it will
I
definitely
mean,
have a ripple effect. There's no question about it. Something here was just so damaging. The schools, and then we had this really system of separation, the boo-booed versus the non-boo-booed, and our government was even pushing this fight because they thought, well, if we get the parents to fight with each other, we don't have to do the work, you know. And they did. They got parents fighting with each other. They got families fighting with each other. I mean, I've had customers come in and telling me the stories how when they want to go to a holiday to the, for the Chag, for one of the Jewish holidays, to their families, we were one of the first places to sell the over-the-counter test. Now, I'm sure you by now have got them.
Probably, but I don't even bother anymore.
Okay,
I don't know.
So we got these tests, and then they flew out of the pharmacy because now everyone was testing themselves at home and testing whoever came into your home. You had to do a test before you went into your parents' home. Or your parents had to do a test before
So
they
what
came.
was the point of getting boo-booed? So what was that whole
Makes no sense at all.
So Gert Janssen van Rensburg has a question.
Yeah.
Did you see the chart from the UK where they made the distinction between dying from the boo-boo and dying with the boo-boo, i.e. cancer, TB, car accidents, etc.?
I think I did see it, and I'm trying to remember because there's been so much information coming out.
No.
But what we did see was the all-cause mortality, because it's very difficult to know what caused it. You can't know. The only thing that's really accurate is all-cause mortality. That's the only thing. And what that is from year to year, from week to week, every country records how many deaths they have. So like the first week of June, from year to year, should be more or less the same. Summer is different. Every week of the year, the conditions are more or less the same. Things shouldn't change a lot. If they suddenly start changing, we're talking about number of total deaths. So we're not saying what you died from, we're just saying total deaths. If things start looking out of the range that they should be, you need to ask questions. And we didn't see in 2020 the increase in all-cause mortality that we saw in 2021 when the boo-boos appeared on the market. Suddenly there was an all-cause mortality increase in almost all the highly boo-booed countries, including the UK. Huge. Europe. The insurance companies were starting to ask questions now. The actuaries are starting to say, hold on, this doesn't make sense.
I think there was a release at the beginning of this week or the end of last week to say that insurance companies are not going to insure non-physical attributes anymore. So in other words, health issues. I just whispered, but the feeling I got, I'm not sure, don't quote me, but I think there was something around that vibe.
Well, there was even a country in Europe, and I don't remember either which one it was, that tried to convert things to if you actually chose to get the boo-boo and died from it, it was kind of, I could be wrong as well, suicide, because You chose to do it, and so you're not covered by life insurance. You chose that, boo-boo. It wasn't forced on you because there was no mandate in that country, and so it wasn't on them. People are trying to get around this somehow because the insurance companies are going to go in. They suddenly being hit with claims from here to high heaven. And then the whole thing of bringing the age down, when we know that this is not something that's dangerous in kids. This part is another thing that was just mind-boggling. I mean, children are not dying in those numbers, and the ones that are dying are children that have got other issues. They were children with different morbidities, all different health issues. These were not usually, look, they don't tell you exactly what the situation is. We just know numbers that died, but we know that those children were children that were sickly. It wasn't something that was happening to healthy children. Healthy children were getting it and getting over it. Most healthy children. But then you've got to understand why this is happening. And this is very important, Ruth. I know we're running out of time. But
no, look, we can chat a bit longer. It's fine. I mean, this is...
Okay. But this is really important because you have to understand why they're bringing the number down lower and lower. Why are they wanting to give little ones, infants, a vaccine? That's not safe. It hasn't been tested in infants. Okay? And they'll tell you, no, you have to have it. And this is like in America. And Israel was talking about doing the same thing here. Then you understand that there is, let me just find it because I printed it out. Yeah, the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this. So what happened in America in the 80s? There was a problem with the diphtheria boo-boo, the vaccine for diphtheria, where there was, people were concerned about a certain kind of encephalitis that might have been caused by it, and it started to cause hesitancy. Parents were, we didn't have that much media. It wasn't spreading so easily, but the news was out there and people were hesitant to take their kids to be vaccinated in the 80s. Okay. And so Ronald Reagan at that stage brought in this act. Sorry, let me just put it on silent again. He brought in this act, and what it did was to try and encourage companies, pharmaceutical companies, to produce vaccines, because you need vaccines for all sorts of things. We really had to do this. He covered the liability. He said we're taken away from them because they were being sued, and they decided it's not worth their while making vaccines anymore, the companies. So rather make other medication. So to prevent that from happening, he brought in this act that was called the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And what it very basically did is it took the liability away from the companies and put it onto the country. Okay. Now there's a list of vaccines that is on this your compulsory vaccines, okay, that are covered. And these are your childhood vaccines. This is your DPT, your polio, TBs, all those ones. If a vaccine, a boo-boo, has been put on that list, it's protected, okay? And anyone, even an adult, can have it, and the company won't be liable for injury for any injuries. The country will take it on. Okay? So what they're doing here is they're trying to get this particular boo-boo into that list of compulsory vaccines. That's what they're trying to do. The minute they get that right, they're covered forever and ever. Whether you are 70 and get injured or 3 years old and get injured, the company is covered, the country is liable. And there you go. Good luck to you trying to get yourself sorted out by the country. You're not going to come right very easily. So that's what they're trying to do. And it's just so sad. And it makes sense that's the reason why a few years back, kids got, I don't know how many, was it like 6, 7, 8 vaccines in their childhood?
No, more. Someone once.
Now it's something like 18 by the time you reach a certain age. But why are they bringing it into that act? If they get their vaccine into that list, they're covered. Now the problem is at the moment you're in emergency use with Pfizer. Okay, this is what they also very clever. They've got 2 out there on the market. They got the Comirnaty, which is the one that apparently got full FDA approval, But that's not the one that we're getting, and no American has got it. It's quite funny. And they'll tell you that they just don't have enough stock, so they're giving you the BioNTech one, which is the one that's still emergency use. And as long as it's emergency use authorization, the companies are covered. But the emergency is coming to an end. We are no longer in a state of emergency.
Right.
So the minute that emergency comes to an end, they're meant to be liable for damages, unless they put into this list of compulsory vaccines for children. So the minute it's in that list of compulsory vaccines for infants and children, the company is covered. So this is what they're doing. And that's why they're lowering the age more and more. They keep lowering the age.
No, well, yeah. If I had a young child of my own now, I wouldn't let them. No, nothing would come near.
No, absolutely no way. And there's something else that's happening, which is more terrifying than any of this, is the hepatitis that it's just not getting enough attention. The number of cases of hepatitis, now I don't know if you've heard of this hepatitis. Young children, and they're not telling us the ages of these children. We're not getting all the information. We just know.
From how long ago? Before 2020? Like starts?
No. This is only recently that it's come to attention. If I'm not mistaken, the last 2 or 3 months. And the numbers have increased. Today I saw an update, and I wish I wrote it down somewhere. I think it was how many kids have died? There's about 30 of them, little kids and babies that have had to have liver transplants, and I think about 8 have died. I could be wrong, but that's more or less the number that have died so far of hepatitis. Now, there's nothing, we don't know, but there was one, somebody put out something, I think it was in an Irish paper, that these babies were breastfed babies from vaccinated mothers. Now, I can't find enough data on that. I'd like to know, what are the ages of these children, because nobody knows what's caused it. There's just no explanation, but the numbers are increasing. And if anything is terrifying, it's little babies and little children getting hepatitis and having to have a liver transplant.
Yeah,
what the hell is going on? I want to know what's causing this. They need to be going out full force trying to find out what's causing this. But this is not getting the amount of attention it should be. Instead, we now have monkeypox. I don't even know what to say. And the monkeypox vaccination, just to let you know, that there was like in 2019, in October, they had that simulation exercise, literally weeks before the COVID came out. There was a simulation exercise, Event 201. I can give you links afterwards to all of these things where they simulated a pandemic. Now, the last time there was a pandemic was 100 years ago. We've had epidemics, but we haven't had a pandemic.
Okay, so explain the difference for us uneducated.
So the pandemic is like the whole world. You've had epidemics of, things flaring up here and there, but suddenly we have a pandemic. The entire world is affected by this terrible virus, huge populations. Okay, the last time we had one was 100 years ago. Suddenly, weeks before a pandemic, we have a simulation exercise at Johns Hopkins University with Bill Gates sitting there, amongst others. It's insane, but just to let you know that a year ago, I've just discovered, in March last year, somewhere in Germany, a similar situation happened. There was a simulation of monkeypox. We weren't even hearing about monkeypox a year ago, but they were already preparing a year ago. And the first monkeypox that we heard about was this month, right? In May. Funnily enough, Justin Trudeau's government in Canada ordered, I don't know how many vaccines for monkeypox in April. I've got the information
I just want to
online.
Show it, yeah.
So I have it somewhere here. Justin,
okay, let me just go look for it quickly. Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody. Hello, Nick. Yeah, Smee wants to have a one-on-one with you. Jan, many boo-boo recipients are right about on the verge of committing sewage pipe due to the side effects. Okay, so obviously sewage pipe means, do you get it? Like when you kind of take yourself out.
Oh no.
Yeah. Hello, Corona's boring. Welcome. From the family lost a life assurance payout. Everyone considered it was an adverse event. That's where we were talking about insurance companies.
That's right, because they'll say that it wasn't mandated. You chose to have it. So if you chose to have it, they don't have to cover you.
So well, this is good Afrikaans from back in the day, Joe.
Yeah.
Evening, people. Now we're going to have a football scandemic.
You're talking about the monkeypox?
Mm.
What are we talking about? I mean, I have to show you this. We find it because it's so crazy that Canada is. I mean, he's so on the ball, old Mr. Trudeau. So on the ball that he's ordered the monkeypox vaccines long before, or a month before we even knew that there was monkeypox coming out. Oh, man, I don't know where I put it, but anyway, you can go and look it up. He's ordered it.
So what's a good website to go to for something like that? Where do you get most of your news?
No,
I know you love Twitter. If people want to follow you on Twitter, what's your handle? Do you want to give out your handle?
I don't have anything fancy. I'm just there who I am. But what I'll do is I can get all these links for you if you want me to, and I'll put them on I'll send them to you.
Okay. Well, don't or put it on your, or you don't want to put it on your Twitter? I mean, it's a. Put it on your.
I have to go so carefully. Even on Facebook, I mean, I put up posts and I have to watch my P's and Q's because I keep getting these warnings. And I go back to, I was looking at some of my old posts. Some of them have been censored. You can't get to them anymore. They're gone. It's insane. Yeah. I just don't know what the hell is going on here, but something is going on. And it's
why they hide this is what's so. I mean, this is what's so bizarre is that they're trying to hide it. They're trying, I mean, people can talk about.
They're trying to hide it because this is not about a virus. This is not about a virus. You have to understand it. This is about something much bigger than the virus. This is about resetting our entire lives for this the Great Reset, the 2030 agenda, where they try to change our lives and they need control.
Yeah. In fact, I was listening to Polly, I think I can't think of her full name. Maybe someone in the comments does. Something Polly. In 2019, she was telling everyone to get rid of their black mirrors. These things are listening.
Absolutely.
And these things are recording. And not only that we'll have to use them to basically gain social credit, bank accounts.
System. And what's happening right now, this week, you need to follow this because this is so important to see what your governments are up to in Geneva with the WHO. That's with this treaty that they've amended. And that is like super important because they try and make it look like it's so innocent. They're just amending it so that we'll be safer next time around because they'll be able to react quicker and more efficiently. They were so inefficient this time around, the WHO. But it's crazy because what they're basically saying is, and they're wanting countries to sign on this, there's 194 countries, of which South Africa and Israel are part of them, and most countries in the world, is you basically letting the WHO, if we sign off on this, the WHO is going to be telling us when the next pandemic starts, what we have to do, when we need to shut down. It's not going to be up to your country. This is going to be up to them deciding that the entire world needs to now lock up, go home, go close your shop because it's dangerous. It's insane that we're actually giving them this power. And today I saw Mr. Trudeau, he's one of my pet hates. I just can't with that man. Today on Twitter, he was so excited that they were going to be part of the committee. They have this committee, and there's going to be this whole new executive committee that's going to be managing pandemics. And we need to manage pandemics the way Canada's managed it. Oh my God. Canadians are in jail. If you have
apparently, so I've got friends who have family in Australia. So it wasn't all of Australia, it was some of it.
But I'm talking about Canada now.
Yeah, I know, but even in Australia they've
Australia was insane. I had a customer that came the other day who finally got back here after being locked down on that side for 2 years, literally almost. Finally was released from the jail. But look at what happened with their numbers. I mean, you've got to go onto the worldometer and see. They now managed to flatten the line perpendicularly. I mean, whoever tried to have zero COVID, they had the zero COVID. They locked people like insanity. And then when they released them finally, because they thought now we're all vaccinated, their numbers have just gone straight up. It's insane. That's what it looks like in all the countries that tried the zero COVID response. It doesn't work. There's no zero COVID. It's here. And the sooner everyone gets it and gets immunity to it, the better. And Africa is the best picture. I mean, Africa has done so well. And this is what drives them crazy. They want to get that vaccine into Central Africa because Central Africa is unvaccinated and they've done better than any country and any of the continents.
Yes.
And they're trying to look for all sorts of reasons. I mean, the one reason I saw this week, something that people don't get buried properly and it doesn't get reported. What rubbish. Which African doesn't get a proper, even the poorest African makes sure that there is a burial, and there's usually a week or so before the burial, and the family take out loans to make sure the person is buried. So that death is recorded. It's not recorded because they said they can't say if it's a COVID death or not. So then an all-cause mortality should increase. But there was no all-cause mortality increase. And so they're trying to say, no, some of the deaths are generally not recorded. Deaths are recorded. Africans know what they are doing. They are not people that just like drop dead and let their people disintegrate.
Yeah.
This is nonsense. It's nonsense. They're making all kinds of excuses. There is the fact that Africa is a younger population, so that could have something to do with it. But I think what mostly has to do with it, which they will not talk about, is the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine side of it.
Well, they've just ended I just saw a post today where they have South African government has said no treating it. In fact, Davina was on and she said as from today, they've stopped it. They've stopped treatment. Here we go. Here it is. She said the ivermectin. Saw in news this week. Ivermectin, has been banned for treating the vid in SA.
This is insane. Now I'm going to show you this graph. I don't know if you can see this graph. I printed this out because I thought it would be easier.
Okay, focus it on the,
Like that. Can you see this graph?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this blue part, the blue part of Africa,
the central part.
Ivermectin. Okay, they use it regularly as an antiparasitic for river blindness. Okay, now look at the bottom, and that is the COVID. The orange parts are the parts that don't get it regularly. And look at the orange graph. Now just compare the two. This is a graph that comes from Johns Hopkins. That's the source. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ivermectin is given regularly. It's over the counter there. And they have no deaths. They are inadvertently treating themselves early, whether they got the virus or not. That virus is spread around the world. There's no country, unless you were locked down, which Africa was not locked down like that, they didn't get it. You can be sure that COVID is all over Africa. But they didn't die. They didn't die in excess numbers. You can see that blue line at the bottom. The orange line are the countries that don't get it, and South Africa included. There are some people that get it. I mean, I get ivermectin from South Africa. It's crazy, but I have to bring it from there because I can't get it here.
Sure. Well, now your supply is now finished, apparently, according to Devi. So I think I'm sure she's got stockpiles.
Yeah, but no, I stocked up because I just wanted to make sure that I had here for whoever I knew or for family and friends or whatever I could help. Because makes no sense to wait, especially a high risk person, to see if something's going to go wrong or not.
So Arbot does a lot of traveling. He's one of my regulars. He says he was in Marble Hall today, elbow cough. And then Smee again says, so a lot of love here. A lot of people feel exactly the same way. And thank you for coming on and having the guts, the chutzpah to come on and tell the world what's been happening.
I'm very happy to chat and to be in company of people that, and I can guarantee you, if you went onto Twitter, you would see that we are not in the minority. You would think we are, but we're not. People are wide awake, know exactly what's going on. That's why they had to bring a monkeypox along. And there's still lots to talk about how this whole thing happened and what the big picture is.
So we'll wait, what? How many weeks? 2 weeks? A fortnight?
No, we'll watch what's going on, because now what's happening this week, we need to watch carefully what's going on with the WHO, with this treaty, to see what's going to happen there, and also with the monkeypox, which is suddenly appearing. I can tell you what I think. My feeling this year is going to be extremely bumpy, and the main reason is because of the elections in America. Because
actually, I don't even know when they are. When are those elections?
These are midterm elections. These are not for the president. These are for the House and the Senate, and they're around November. And those are extremely important elections. This would take a whole
new stream to explain.
To explain what's going on. But you can be sure that the shit is going to hit the fan before November. It's going to be all-out war before November, because it's so consequential. It's so serious what will happen in November. It will be affecting all of us after that. Huge things are happening. Huge things are happening in the world, trying to reach some kind of a new world. Today, Justin Trudeau brought in a new law that's going to be coming in, where they're going to be taking away people's ammunition. No guns, no more guns. Trying to disarm a whole nation again. And that, I mean, it's insane. And it's very sad what happened at that school in Texas. But this is being used. And you'd almost think that, I don't want to say it, but the way it just came at the right time, and it's being used to try and disarm countries. And if you look at China, which is a disarmed country, what's happening there today, then you've got to know where we're heading if we have this happen. This is really, really scary stuff, and you need to watch very carefully what's going on in the world. So, that's where we are, but we're watching carefully. We are. I don't know how much we can do.
Corona's boring as the comedian of the bunch. He says,
that's true. I agree with you. That's Justin Castro. He looks like his daddy-o. It's clear.
Yeah, all right. But no, so we'll come and chat to us again when you have these epiphanies and these. Yeah, no, I think everyone thoroughly enjoyed it, and you're a breath of fresh air.
Thank you. It was really nice to be with you, and thank you for letting me,
of course,
share with my little bits and pieces, because I drive everybody crazy on this side. So
I drive everyone crazy in my circles. Like my YouTube community are with me. But my inner circles, maybe not so much.
Yeah,
but like I said, I've read Paul.
Friday nights here are fiery in my family.
Yeah. So, no, sure. Everyone knows we don't discuss it anymore. We don't, but it's still such a Anyway, all right, everybody, have a lekker week. I don't know what's happening next week. We'll see what's happening next week.
Good luck.
Maybe there'll be a character on, but stay on. Jan, sorry for me, Adam. Stay on. I'm just going to say goodbye to the peeps. Okay. And guys, be warm.
Bye, guys. It was lovely speaking to all of you.
Okay, excellent. Cheers, everybody. Take care.
Bye.